Anthony from my cigar pack, here again at EP Carrillo, headquarters in Miami, sitting down with David Spirit, the COO of EPC. Can you please tell me a little bit about EPC?
So Ernesto Perez Carrillo started this company back in 2009, and we have a very interesting and unique brand portfolio, and part of our philosophy, and we'll talk a little more about it as we get into the different brands here, but part of the philosophy that Ernesto has is he likes to try and make a cigar for pretty much every palate that's out there. And, so we go all the way from a mild cigar to a full cigar, and none of the two cigars are identically the same. For example, you're smoking La Historia, and I'm smoking an Allegiance here, two different cigars we're trying. La Historia was the first of the Perez Carrillo series, which is the box press series that we were talking about earlier. The way this came about, which is very kind of interesting, is that the band, you'll notice there's a piece of artwork on it. And that artwork, the original band that you have, exactly matches a painting that we have hanging in our lobby. Ernesto's daughter, who is on the, if you're facing and looking at the band on the right side, in front of the Freedom Tower in Miami, she commissioned this piece of artwork, as an idea. And on the left side, that's actually Ernesto's mom in Pinar del Rio, the area of Cuba that she grew up in. So we commissioned this artwork, and that cigar in 2014 got the #2 cigar of the year, the E3, which is a Churchill size, got the #2 cigar of the year for Cigar Aficionado. We've built off of that and built other parts of the Perez Carrillo series, which we'll talk about here. So
This is the first time that I'm smoking La Historia, and it is the beautiful cigar. Just like before, we talked about the Encore Black. And I could see that, looking at all these brands in front of me, the different types, I could see a similarity between them. And they all have a slight box press to them.
yeah.
So is there a history, is there a story behind the box press?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So we were working, Ernesto was working on this cigar, La Historia, and he kept trying to make a round Vitola. And I smoked it, and Ernesto utilizes me sort of as his second palate because of the amount of time I've been smoking in my personal life. And I sat there and I was like, we really need to do something as a box pressed. And if you talk about the history of Ernesto, he was kind of a first in a lot of ways, and we can delve more into that, later on. But I went and I asked the guy who ran the factory, and I said, listen, make this in a box pressed. And the story, the way it goes from the inside is he didn't want to do it. And it's true. He was like, no. I said, I'll take the heat. Just make some in a box pressed. So he did, and I handed this cigar actually in Pro Cigar 2013 to him. It was 12 or 13. I don't remember the date. Don't hold me to that one. It had to be 13. I handed him this cigar, 13, might have actually been early 14. And I said, try it. And he smoked it. And he really liked it. The box press gave it a different mouthfeel. Mm-hmm. It created the tobaccos to play with themselves differently, and he really liked it. And he then started running with a box pressed idea. So what started happening is, as obviously, La Historia was the first one, and then Encore, which we have pictured down here. Encore was his encore to La Historia. That's how it got the name, Encore. So we were starting to talk Encore, and of course the first thing was box pressed or not. And you got to keep it consistent. It's got the same band, the same look, the same image, just a different color profile. So we got to keep that consistent to be box pressed. Mm-hmm. And then the box press sort of became the keynote of the Perez Carrillo series, or all box pressed. Yeah. And it's just, it works well. And his box press is a little different. That, even though you're smoking a larger ring gauge, when he box presses, the way he does it, it's more of a broader box press, where it's less of a square, so it has less of a mouthfeel to you. It doesn't feel like, when you smoke there's a 58 ring gauge. When you smoke that, it doesn't feel like this big ring gauge. It feels like a normal Vitola for most people.
Yeah, it brings it down. The way it just sits in the mouth and the way it holds in the hand, like it's just very organic. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, and it's cool. It's a nice little snippet and a nice history behind it. And it's one of those things that it happened, you guys ran with it, and that's how it's going to go, at least for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely. And then post Encore, the next one we came out with was Pledge. And pledge was his pledge, because Ernesto's all about the consumer and all about the smoking experience. And this was Ernesto's pledge to the industry, to the consumers, and to the cigar smoking world, that he will always strive to make the very best cigar with the very best tobaccos he can find. And, he made this pledge, and he literally wrote out this pledge, and it was part of the whole marketing campaign and launch behind that cigar. And pledge then, Encore, which was the one down here, was 2018 #1 cigar of the year in the majestic size. Pledge Prequel, which is a true 5x50 Robusto, was the #1 cigar in 2020. Also was the original first highest rated #1. It got 98 points by Cigar Aficionado. Plus that cigar won accolades on the #1 list for a lot of people. So it wasn't just Cigar Aficionado. That was the highest awarded cigar that we've ever had. When we look at all the different people that put it out on their, whether it was their blogs, their reviews, their top 25 lists, that was way up, #1 for several.
I definitely want to tell the people, and it's a #1 cigar of the year in 2020 and 2018, and it is for a reason. Buy that cigar, take that cigar, enjoy it and smoke it, and then tell me that it's not a #1 cigar. It's gorgeous. It's elegant. It's very elegant. It's straight from light up. That's what I feel. And the biggest thing is, when you think of a company, when you think of a name, and the name like Ernesto Perez Carrillo, it's just beauty.
Yep.
And it's how you said is a pledge to the consumer, a pledge to the people who's buying his product. Because if people didn't buy his product, he can't make these cigars.
Yeah. At the end of the day, if the consumer's not buying it, we're not in business. That's how it works. And his pedigree and his longevity in this industry, is what allows him to make these cigars. And then leading into the last one, just so the consumer group out there knows, I'm smoking Allegiance. I'm smoking the Toro size, the Confidant. And this one just got #5 this year for Cigar Aficionado, and Cigar Journal, which is the equivalent, in my opinion, of the international top magazine, gave it a #1 for the year. So, again, another highly rated, interesting cigar. The unique thing about this cigar compared to the other ones, so La Historia, Encore, and Pledge are all made at Casa Carrillo, our factory, in the Dominican Republic, using tobaccos from all over the world. In this scenario, Ernesto was having with COVID and with everything that was going on post-COVID, with finding employees and everything, Ernesto had this idea that, I know a lot of people. This industry, he's been 50 plus years in the business, so I know a lot of manufacturers. So he wanted to find and source the very, very best tobacco. And he went to the Oliva family that grows tobacco to personally source and handpick every cigar version, varietal that's in this cigar. And then actually went to the Oliva Tobacco Company that makes cigars. And this is made for us by them in their factory in Nicaragua on our behalf. Wow. In that process, that also led for us to make a cigar for Oliva called Cuba Aliados. So that is an old line that existed way back in the day that now they own and they're bringing back to life. So it was became this joint project as the two companies together, and it's been a great relationship with them. And it's unique because the rarity of a master blender like him, first class Hall of Fame master blending class. Been in this business for 50 years, to turn around and say, I want to go work with someone else. That's just so unbelievable that he has that cachet, that ability to do it, that, sort of humbleness in him to say that, I'm really good at what I do, but I know other people are really good at what they do too. So let's work together. You don't see that too often.
And to put the name and the brand on it, because that's the big thing is you think of EPC Carrillo, and it's the man, the myth, and the legend in the industry. And his name is out there, and I've been a cigar smoker for a decent amount of years now. I'm not an expertise. I don't want to call myself an expertise. I'm an enjoyer of tobacco.
Yeah.
Right.
We make other cigars here too. I mean, I sort of covered Perez Carrillo, but just to give you an idea, we have an inch line that is a natural Maduro and all pure Nicaraguan and Nicapuro again in it. And those come from 60 to 70 ring gauge. I also make a cigar called New Wave Connecticut, which is a Connecticut. It's a little bit more mild compared to everything that we're talking about in smoking. There's mornings where I'll wake up and I'll have a nice cup of espresso and I'll go grab a New Wave Connecticut because I like it. But if you were to tell me, hey, pick your three go-tos, they're sitting right here. They're these three. These are my go-to three. You know, Encore for me is a very, very elegant special cigar. That tends to be when I'm in the mood for more of a, like that style, more medium, more, you know, I really want to like unplug. You know, that's the cigar I go to because I get into that cigar and it's like I get lost inside that cigar.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm really in the mood for like that, I need something oomphy. I need that beefy, big, bold, in your face. I lean towards Pledge. Okay. You know, the blue box. Pledge is just a powerhouse of a cigar. You know, and then Allegiance sort of falls in the middle between the two. Allegiance is probably the #1 cigar we have that I would say for everybody casts such a wide net. It's such a wide reach, full of flavor. You know, it's got a lot of complexity to it. We've given this cigar to guys who are super mild smokers. We ask them to try it. They smoke, oh yeah, I could smoke this cigar. It's not that overwhelming to them. But then I give it to that guy that smokes full-bodied all the time, constantly, and he goes, wow, this cigar has a lot of richness, a lot of complexity, a lot of flavor to it. It's maybe not as strong as I normally smoke, but it's interesting. There's nothing about it that's overpowering. You know, so going back to what I said earlier, that's Ernesto's goal. He never wants to have two cigars be too similar, you know, and when we work on blends, which I was doing this morning with him, you know, when you walked in, that's what we were finishing up was a blend tasting, you know, for something we're coming out with here in the future. You know, and we're very cautious to make sure that the cigar that we pick to bring out, the blend that we pick, isn't similar to another cigar we currently have. You know, and I think there are companies out there that their portfolios are so wide that you start feeling like, that's weird, that cigar tastes kind of like that cigar. Yeah. You know, that cigar kind of tastes like that cigar. You know, they're different,
They'll
you
have
know,
similarities
but the similarities tend to be too strong, and we try to avoid that as best as possible, which makes our portfolio narrow, because when you look at what we have, if you take our 3-pack out, we only have 32 SKUs. You know, and to think we're the size company we are with 32 SKUs, that's also unheard of.
It speaks volume.
Yeah, it speaks volumes to the blend, you know. So it's a very interesting thing that we try to develop, and we continue to develop, and we continue to push forward on, you know. So, you know, but it's a good portfolio of cigars that a lot of people, they have their favorites.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? Pledge is a lot of people's favorites, man. That cigar still sells like gangbusters. But, you know, they try everything else and go, oh yeah, man, I tried this one, I tried that one. And it's funny, everybody calls it by, you know, La Historia, which you took off, it's right here in the ashtray, I'm gonna just show it to everybody, has this aqua blue ribbon on it. So they call, oh yeah, the aqua one, the gold one, the green one, the cream one. They call it by the band color, they can't remember the names. But we know what they're talking about when we're talking to the consumers.
Yeah,
so.
and the biggest thing with consumers is, I feel, is that the first thing is if they walk into a humidor, they're going to look with their eyes, obviously. They're going to see with their eyes, and that's the first thing that they're going to think about is look at something that's appealing to them and make that decision of their purchase based off of that. And that blue is my favorite color.
There you go.
So the fact that, you know, that cigar was given to me to smoke, I was over the moon. I'm like, that's my favorite color, you know, I'm going to enjoy it, because that's probably what I would have picked out of the cabinet to enjoy.
So it's interesting. You know, we work very hard as a company to develop these cigars that we feel as many consumers can smoke it as possible. You know, our limiteds and things that we've done in the past where it's a short run, for example, and I know that, you know, a lot of people have talked to us about our short run, and we bring it and turn it on and turn it off. It's kind of one of those things, because the idea behind the short run is that it's called that for a reason, because Ernesto has so much tobacco of some very specific varietal or aged tobacco or something unique that he found that either he can't get enough of, it's no longer grown, you know, the guy planted it 1 year and Ernesto loved it, so he decided, I'm going to use this for something. You know, and he works on it, he ferments it, he ages it, he does this, and then we have the short runs. But the thing is, you can't have a short run and then skip 2-3 years and then have a short run and skip 2, you know, so he likes to bunch them up and have multiple. But the short run is one of those great things where you see his uniqueness that he gets to play. That's kind of like what I always say to people, the short run is like the artist's proof. You know, that's the one, that was the original one he did, and it may have 27 layers of paint on that piece of artwork, but then that final artwork is the one that everybody duplicates. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's what he does. He plays around with tobacco, you know. You know, we have a gentleman that works here, works with me, Jerry Grip, and he says that he's the mad scientist. You know, he says we should call him the alchemist. That's one of the things that he always likes to say. But, you know, it's that he takes these tobaccos and he finds a way to make them magical. You know, and a lot of times you sit there and you go, huh? You know, it is what it is, you know, and he's been doing it for 50 years, man, 50 plus years. So
Beautiful. God bless him.
You know, he knows more about tobacco than most people have forgotten. He's probably forgotten more about than most people know. How do you like that cigar?
I enjoy it very much. What was the wrapper on this again?
So it's a Mexican from the San Andres Valley.
Okay.
And if you ask me the rest of it, I'm going to tell you I don't remember off the top of my head right now. So we'll just talk wrappers.
Okay. All right. Well, David, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you for bringing us in and showing us the brands
Yeah.
under EP Carrillo. It's wonderful. You know, hope everybody goes out and seeks this out and tries them. Listen, try it and then come back to me and let me know. If you don't like it, we're going to have a conversation because there's nothing to not like about this.